of the tree of life, I just picked me a plum.
Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Oakland-based jazz singer Kenny Washington. We talked to him during the Coronavirus Quarantine of No Live Jazz about his brand new CD, What's the Hurry? And that's the soundtrack for how things are going here in the world of jazz lately. He was born and raised in New Orleans and grew up singing gospel in the church where his parents were choir members and playing saxophone in school bands. He has gone on to thrill audiences around the globe. He opened up about this new world of ours, another wonderful album. He's got great stories and insights. Enjoy.
Got to do the best you can, and the one thing I'm really trying to do is reach out to musicians to, I just think it's good to talk about music and not have to worry about all these other distractions because the news isn't real rosy as it is right now. So I think it's good to just talk it out a little bit, you know.
Exactly. Yep.
But I guess the very first question, again, thank you for taking a minute out. The very first question I'm wanting to know is, what are you doing creatively to kind of keep things afloat for you as a professional musician during this time of a very real, surreal absence of live jazz in the world?
Well, I just started the last 2 weekends, the last 2 Sundays. I did my first video, like stream concert at one of the local clubs here in Oakland. And then last Friday, Suzanne and I did a concert together in her front yard, so that was fun. I don't teach, so I'm not doing any teaching. A lot of the musicians are teachers along with performing, but I don't teach. I don't have any students. I'm not online doing any teaching. So right now I'm just creatively, there's nothing there, but hopefully, there's some things that I'm thinking about and working on, and hopefully it'll turn out. But creative, man, it's just, I'm just sitting here thinking about it too much, instead of doing just that, trying to be creative. But I'm in my head most of the time instead of trying to create something for myself, like a lot of musicians are. But it's working out. I'm applying for grants and the usual unemployment benefits. And then they have the new one, it's temporary, for musicians, for artists, and, independent contractor people, government assistance to apply for that. And that's about it right now.
Talk to me. I'm going to ask you kind of a myriad of questions specifically about this album. And first and foremost, what is it like to release an album during a pandemic?
Well, it's hard to describe. It's a weird feeling. But at the same time, it's something positive, hopefully, and it gives you hope, because music is always a thing that heals the heart and mind, in a lot of people's lives, no matter what the catastrophe or event is going on in the world. Music seems to be a healer of some sort for this album, and it wasn't planned. Nobody had any idea the pandemic would come out the same year. I'm releasing this first studio recording. But it's strange. It's sad in a way, but it's a positive thing.
You got a lot of beautiful songs on this album. Talk to me a little bit about the artistic approach to this project.
Well, the artistic approach. Well, that was just me picking some of the few tunes that I enjoy doing, because I'm drawn to melody first. So I just chose some of the tunes that I've been doing over the years, and some, fairly new that I've only been doing for a while, and just took a chance and did those tunes. No deep thought went into it, or preparation or planning. I just chose tunes that I like to do and said, okay, this would be it. This would be the first few tunes on it. It was originally 13. And 2 of them I wasn't crazy about them, so I took those off. So now it's just 11 tracks, which is fine. I was thinking maybe 9 or 8, actually. But my producer encouraged me not to, just to put a few more on there.
What do you hope the listener gets from this album? What do you want them to walk away with after they listen to this brand new album from you?
Well, I don't want them, nothing in particular. I just hope they enjoy it, and of course I want them to get something out of it, put a smile on somebody's face, or, just for a minute or two. And that's it, it affects your emotions. Music is something it's a personal thing with every individual. Some people like music, some people don't need music. But for the folks that will be listening to this CD, I hope they get some degree of enjoyment out of it. Everybody doesn't like what you do, so I can't be unrealistic and think that everybody's gonna like this project. Everybody doesn't like what you do, that's a fact. But for the folks that do, that pleases me. That's all I need.
Let's go back a little bit here into your beginnings. You're from New Orleans. Talk to me a little bit about how you got the jazz bug, how all this kind of started for you.
Well, growing up in New Orleans, jazz-wise, I grew up in the church. I sang musically anyway in New Orleans. I grew up singing in the church as a kid. But jazz didn't come till much later. I was in my early 20s, and that's when I started performing jazz and just experimenting with jazz. But anyway, as a kid, I went from gospel to R&B as a teen. I listened to a lot of Stevie and Marvin Gaye and Donny Hathaway. So jazz didn't come till much later, like the late 70s for me. And even then, it wasn't vocally. It was an instrumental, because I started playing sax when I was in high school. And I would try to, do a little bit of that along the way. But vocally, I wasn't singing jazz until much later, so like the 90s, early 90s. Yeah, late 80s, early 90s. And by then, I was in the military. I wasn't even at home. I moved from New Orleans when I got into the military. But my experiments with jazz performance-wise wasn't until much later. And by then, I was out of New Orleans. I never performed when I was at home because my daddy wouldn't let me. He wouldn't let me go to clubs, and I knew the sound because it was there. I was raised around the sound of jazz in New Orleans, so I knew what it sounded like, but I never performed it. And I have yet to do a formal gig in my own hometown. I've never done a gig in my hometown. I've sat in at some, it was even clubs, it was bars, bars that served food, and it wasn't in the French Quarter, it was near the French Quarter, the uptown area. But that was as close as I got to performing in New Orleans. And it was R&B, it wasn't jazz.
Let me ask you this: you had a pretty good association with Joe Locke, and with other musicians, and I'm curious, during this time of being away from the music, what experiences, and even if it's musicians or going out to travel to other places in the world, what experiences that have been really positive over your career are you drawing on right now to get strength through this time?
Oh, the experiences. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, working with people like Joe, that really changed my life. And that was definitely at that time one of the highlights of my musical life, was meeting Joe through a friend of mine right here in the local Bay Area. And from Joe, I got to, it was like a domino effect. It was just from Joe to Wynn Marsalis, and it's just, I can't name everybody, but that's an example how it happened. Just meeting one person that was in a higher level of the business, and just keeping it going. And from there, just meeting people along the way.
Yeah. So, what was one of the first live jazz shows you ever saw where you thought, man, that's something I want to do with my life?
That I saw? Jeez. That'll take a while to remember. Shoot. Alvin Baptiste. And this is when I was still in high school. And Alvin Baptiste he was an educator, and he used to go around to the public schools in New Orleans and demonstrate to the music departments, how to play jazz, what it sounds like, how to practice, and what to practice. And that was my first time seeing a live jazz performance. So that kind of stuck with me. But I never said to myself, this is what I want to do with my life. That's not I've never been that kind of a person to say this is what I want to do. It just kind of happened. It wasn't planned at all on my part. It just happened. But he was my first jazz live performance that I heard in New Orleans. And then I got a chance to hear Wynton Marsalis because he had those guys just, bringing them around with him because they were playing at such a high level. And at 13 and 14 years old, so he would take them around while he was touring the schools and have them play, say, well, even at this age, you can be professional. So, he was my very first live jazz performance. And it kind of stuck with me. Even now, I still think about that.
Right on. So, what do you like best about being a musician?
What do I like best about being a musician? Singing a song and singing for people and seeing how it affects people's lives and emotions. That's the best thing for me.
So, on top of that question, why do you love jazz?
Why do I love jazz?
Yeah.
Well, I can't describe that. It's just something you feel. It's something you feel. I mean, I love jazz. I also love gospel and R&B. But it's a musical art form. Yeah, I can't explain why I love jazz specifically.
No,
but,
I think
for the last almost 30 years is what I've been doing most of.
Let me ask you this. We're going to get out of this and we're going to get back to a live music venue. What do you hope both audience member and musician realizes about this time away, so when we come back, we're wiser and stronger?
Well, hopefully that'd be the case, but that may or may not happen. It'll probably go back to business as usual. People not really gravitating toward jazz. I think it'll be the same. It won't go back to anything different. People won't. They won't. Yeah, it won't be any revelation or, a sudden recognition of jazz just because of what we're going through now. People always go toward music that they like, whether it be classical or theater or. Yeah, I don't think that'll ever change. But yeah, the people they're gonna be there with with bright eyes and bushy tails, as the phrase goes. People are waiting for live entertainment again. Musicians are eager to get back too.
Yeah.
So it'll be a happy time. That's all I can say.
Everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, but you're living your life, who do you think you are?
I think I am. I wish I knew. I don't know. I'm not still trying to figure it out.
I hear you. Kenny, hey, thanks, man, for taking a little time out for Neon Jazz. It's a rather extraordinary time on the planet, very surreal, so I appreciate you taking a minute out.
Sure is. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for thinking of me.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest cats in New Orleans, Oakland, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Kenny for his time, music, and stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Come the day of mine,
Neon Jazz.